All right, welcome everyone. My name is Steve Davis, Brother Davis, and I'm here as the instructor for this course. Happy to have some of you join us. You'll see as we go through this brief time that we have together, kind of a little history of the course and what we're hoping to accomplish this semester. So Logan's saying he cannot hear it. Can you try now? Someone let me know that others can hear. Just in the chat box, or you can unmute your mic. Okay, so let me chat Logan. He's not hearing me, so anyway, we'll see. Hopefully he can get on with us here in a minute. So our goal with this class is to help you with a little project, and I'll introduce the project here in a minute. By the way, on these meetings, feel free at any time to unmute your mic. You can use the chat as well, but if you want to chime in and you want to ask a question or make a comment, please, happy to do that at any time. If we can make this as much like a regular classroom setting, it'll be a better experience for all of us. But I'll keep my eye on the chat to watch if anybody makes any comments or has any questions there. So you're all part of Principles of Personal Achievement, and the book we're going to be reading is called Inner Victory. The philosophy behind Inner Victory can be summed up in this quote by Socrates, where he said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." So for the next 13 lessons and weeks, we're going to, all of us, me included, are going to be examining our lives. We're going to be looking at things that you and I are doing or not doing, and we're going to create a project that I'm going to introduce to you here in just a second. I want to give you a little history of this class. Now, there's two reasons why people take this class. One, and you guys can chime in on this if you're taking it just because you need an elective, or and it depends on how many credits you're on, this does actually fill a GE requirement now. But let me give you a little history of the class. Let me introduce you to the textbook. Now, there's been 3 editions of this textbook, so yours may not look like this. It's called Inner Victory. It's by David Christensen. You can get it in the bookstore, order it online. You can also get it as an ebook. But if you don't have it right now, you're okay for a little while. We're actually going to start reading in the textbook next week, but in these weekly meetings, I'm going to summarize the essence of the chapters. Please still do your reading, but if you don't have it, you're going to be okay. This is David Christensen. David's actually a really good friend of mine, and I want to give you a little history about that. And so I'm always going to watch chat, so I'm going to answer a question for Samuel. His question is, what about the pace we'll be reading? Most weeks you'll have 1 chapter is all to read. It's not a very big book. Next week you'll read the introduction in chapter 1, so basically 2 chapters. But it's not a ton of reading. So, and there's not, and not every week do we have a chapter to read. There will be some suggested readings, a conference talk here or there, or an article. Those aren't required. But they're just kind of supplemental. So this is David Christensen. David Christensen used to be in corporate America. He was a trainer. He traveled the world working for, and you might have to go back a little bit. There is the Franklin Covey program. It used to be a Franklin company and a Covey company, and they joined together to form Franklin Covey. He worked for the Franklin side of Franklin Covey. And he traveled the world all over the place teaching people how to be successful, corporations and those kinds of things. He later came to BYU, Idaho as a religion professor. And I got to know David because he was a religion professor and a stake president here on campus. And I actually served as a bishop under Brother Christensen, President Christensen. And then what happened with President Christensen, if you're that kind of a leader, you're going to end up having opportunities. So they kept calling him away to be a mission president. First, they called him away to be the president of one of the Santiago, Chile missions. So for 3 years, he's gone, and that means that I was able to kind of take over the course in his absence. He came back for a couple of years, and then they called him to be the MTC president in the Guatemala MTC. And then he came back, and so I helped with the course while he was gone, but I've taught it for all these years. But the whole goal of what we're doing in Inner Victory is understanding the value of having a plan. And so this image illustrates a blueprint. If you were to build a home, you would want to have some plans. You'd want to have a blueprint so that you knew, the measurements and where and what and all those kinds of things. Well, what we're going to be creating this semester is a blueprint for you. It's going to be your blueprint, your plans on how you're going to go through life. And what we're going to be creating is something called a personal creed document. There are 7 parts to the personal creed document. There are 13 lessons. So 7 of the 13 weeks, you're going to build a part of your personal creed document. And then at the end of the semester, you're going to collapse all of these together into one final product. So I'm just going to briefly share with you the 7 parts. And we won't be doing part 1 for a couple of weeks yet. So part 1 is your beliefs. Your beliefs, think of the articles of faith in the church. If you were to list your articles of faith or your articles of belief, what would those 10 things be, or those 12 things? And as we go through, I'll continuously show you examples of what they're going to be, okay? Part 2 is about mentorship. So the question would be, who would be your mentor? And we all have mentors, but if you had a particular question or a concern or a problem, who would be the person that you would want to give you the advice? Who would you ask questions to? And there's 2 parts to part 2, okay? One is, who's your mentor? What advice would you get from them? And then if you were to be able to create a board of advisors, if you could have 5, 6, 7 people around a table, who would you have around the table to help you manage life? What should I major in? Well, who would you want to seek out? A question that you have. The third one is you're going to create a document that says about who you are. What makes you unique? What are your talents, your abilities, your gifts? Okay, that's number 3. Number 4, you're going to list some values that you have. What are the things that motivate you? Part 5 is, what are your goals? Okay, so goals come from your values. What are the things that you want to work on for 2020, for example, this year? The second to last part has 2 parts to it, but this section has to do with gratitude. Who are the people in your life that you would be thankful for? Who has made a difference in your life? And then what are the events in your life that have shaped you? We call these switch points. What are the events that have been positively impactful or dramatically impactful in your life? And then the last part, you're going to create, another part of this, we're going to have a section about dealing with negativity and forgiveness, okay? And then the last part is your mission statement. You're going to write a mission statement. What is your mission statement? What is going to be what motivates you and prompts you and gives you things to be successful? Your mission statement should be something that inspires you. Now, if any of you have ever read Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it's going to sound a lot like his stuff. Now, he would have you do the mission statement first. We're going to have you do it last. And then I'm going to introduce you to a couple of other books. This is another Brother Christensen. These aren't required reading, but periodically I'm going to introduce you to a book or 2 that is going to hopefully be something that you might want to look into. Okay, so before I talk about how we're going to grade and what we're going to look for, are there any questions Now, there's only 10 of us, so it's not going to be hard if anybody wants to just quickly unmute your mic and ask a question, or you can type it in chat. Any questions about your personal creed document or what our goal is in this class? Did I explain it clearly enough, hopefully? Any questions at all? Okay, so Samuel, I will list the 7 again. In fact, for ease, I'm going to fly through the slides. Now, you're going to notice that these are looking kind of polished and finished, right? During the course of the semester, what you hand in probably won't look like this. It'll probably be just the words. At the end, you're going to want to shine it up and package it up. And you're going to want to build it so at the end, all you're really doing is finalizing and packaging the 7 parts together. So 7 parts. Number 1 is your beliefs. Number 2, mentoring and board of advisors. That has 2 parts. Number 3, what makes you unique? Okay. Number 4 is your values. Number 5 is your goals. Number 6, 3 parts about gratitude and forgiveness are kind of tied together. And then your mission statement. Okay. Now, every week we're going to have about a 30-minute meeting. At the very last assignment that you're going to do is you're going to have what we call the class meeting report and lesson evaluation. Now, so now we're up to 11. The 11 of you who've watched this meeting live, in that top box, you're just going to write attended. You don't have to type in one other word. So everybody else has to write a couple of paragraphs about what they learned from watching the recording. So it is going to save you a little bit of time because the recording is going to be however the recording is. It's going to be as long as the meeting is. You're going to need to watch the recording and then write 2 paragraphs. So if you watch the meeting live, your benefit is it's going to save you just a little bit of time. You just write attended, meeting done, okay? Now there are 2 other sections on the meeting, and those two other sections are going to be, I don't have a picture of it, but there's going to be 2 boxes below that. Everybody does question 2 and 3. So you're going to do question, those who watch the recording will do question 1. Those who attend the meeting live will just put attended. And then 2 and 3, everybody does, which is what did you learn and how did you feel about the meeting, about this week's lesson, okay? Now, we have, I teach 1 section, sometimes I teach more than 1, but this semester I'm teaching only 1. My goal every time is that everybody should get an A in this class. This is not a hard class. The work isn't super. There's a couple weeks that are a little busier than others, but some weeks it's not that busy. If you start on it the Friday, you can open and get into the class the Friday of the next week. There's no reason that anybody shouldn't have the pretty modest amount of work done early. The only way you're going to get a poor grade in this class is if you miss assignments or you hand them in late. There's 1 quiz that's actually 2 quizzes that are traditionally graded this week and 1 like on week 7. Everything else is attend the meeting or watch the recording, fill out a couple things, work on your creed document. We will have some case studies. You will have a threaded discussion each week. It really is about just staying on top of the work. I'm not going to go in and question your beliefs or your values, your goals. I can tell effort when I see it, and I'll reward that. You'll see some rewards if I give you a little extra credit. And most of you, the people that are doing that kind of work, don't need the extra credit. So I will accept late assignments for a week if you have a decent reason. After 2 weeks, you'll get a 0 if you're missing the work. Okay. So next week, everybody's going to be in 1 big group. That's just how it's set up. And when you do the threaded discussion, you'll need to do your post by Wednesday and comment on 2 other people's posts. It's super simple. Okay, any questions that anybody has? All right, now what we'll do, I'm going to, let's see how well I've done today. This is 17 meetings, that's not too, 17 minutes, that's not too bad. We'll try to always keep these meetings under 30 minutes. I'll always have a little something to share. We'll have 2 or 3 times that they'll be more interactive, and so that you can be engaged. I will move the meeting times around because I know that some people are going to be working at this time. So this week it might be Tuesday at 5, next week it might be Tuesday at 8. Towards the end of the semester, I'll try and do a couple Mondays at 5 because there's when the big projects are due. Okay, so Dylan asked the question, can you go over the reading assignments again? The primary reading assignment is the book Inner Victory. There's some other suggested readings, and then there's going to be a couple case studies. The things that you will need to read for grade is Inner Victory, the book, and the case studies. Okay, did that answer your question, Dylan, perhaps? Okay. Well, thank you all, and I will close this recording, but I will stay on for the next few minutes if anybody wants to talk to me through this meeting site or text me, chat with me. We'll be happy to visit, okay? All right, thank you all, and we'll see you next week.